All right, and we are live. We are live. Welcome everybody to season 2 premiere, episode 1 of the Saturday Sit Down. I am T. Harris at When the Needle Drops.
And I'm your funky conductor, aka QG, aka at the nerdy little Bubba.
Yeah, so if you guys have noticed something a little different about us, we did take, like I told you in the promo, we was going to take y'all on a ride back. So we had to make sure that at least in my preference, in my instance, because Q got hair, I had to find some hair. So I went back 40 years. I went back 40, almost 50. I went back 50 years. And I came back with this fro. Had to make sure I had the matching Afro pick. Shout out to my son, Josiah, for the accessory, Earth, Wind, and Fire tee. And of course, Q done went all psychedelic soul on me / Jimi Hendrix, man. So
I had to take a trip. I had to take me a little trip real quick,
Yeah, I'm feeling that, man. So again, welcome y'all to another episode of Saturday Sit Down. We are now at the start of season 2. This is our first episode of season 2. And as I've said on our previous episode, the Saturday Sit Down is a way that Q and I share our love for music in a way that is accessible and enjoyable for everybody, from the novice to the knowledgeable. And on today's episode, we are going to share our favorite 70s soul songs. So we are starting a 3, maybe 4-part series. You and I will talk a little bit more about that. But we're going to delve into music from various decades. And we started off with a bang with the 1970s because Q and I got something in common. We both love music from the 70s, man. So Q, I'm going to let you kick it. I got a question for you, man. So before we start, what do you love about 70s soul music?
What I like about 70s soul music is just a whole vibe. Yeah. And it changed, throughout the entire decade. Like in the early 70s, it was all about love songs, slow jams, but it was all about love, And then James Brown brought the funk into it also. And then that rolled into, you had the Parliament Funkadelic, who took funk to another level. And then it started rolling into the disco phase. And then by the time disco was on its way out, we started the boogie phase.
Yes, sir.
So there were always different phases, and it was never like just one type of R&B or one type of soul. You had dance jams, you had slow jams, you had jams that were mid-tempo. You even had jazz artists that were getting in on it, like Grover Washington Jr.
Yep.
And a few others that was giving you them jazzy, soulful instrumentals. So I just like the whole vibe of the decade. And considering that I was born at the tail end, shout out those born in 1978, then I was able to catch the early parts, mid parts, and the ending. And they also had a lot of songs of empowerment too.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, man. I was going to say the exact same things that you said. That's how I know we in sync, we brothers, when it comes to this music thing. But yeah, man, like for me, my introduction, of course, to 70s music that's what was being played in my household growing up. We lived with my grandparents until I was 9 years old. So that's all we heard when it was time to clean up. And on the weekends, if my grandparents would have their friends over to play cards or whatever and hang out and have a good time on Saturday evenings, and they sent the kids back into the back room, that's what you heard. All you heard was 70s music. But I became appreciative of 70s music even more because this was the music that formed early hip hop. The James Brown, the Parliament Funkadelic samples, the Isley Brothers, Sly and the Family Stone, staple singers, so for me, it's just me being an information junkie and going down those rabbit holes and reading those liner notes of those tapes and CDs when I was a kid, man, and learning where the music came from. And from that point forward, man, it became a love affair. And like you said, you have so many different types of soul in the 70s, man. You got James Brown brought the funk. You got the psychedelic soul, disco. And then as disco was telling off, like you said, you had that boogie movement, but it also was like a fusion of like gospel and jazz and funk. And then Earth, Wind, and Fire brought that international flavor using the Brazilian and the tribal sound. Then you had the Afro jazz. So, man, it was so much good music coming out of that, man. And something else that people don't talk about, the bands had this era on lock, man. Where can we start? I mean, just name one. Name a band from the 70s. Of course, you got Earth, Wind, and Fire, but so many, brother.
Kool and the Gang.
Kool and the Gang. The Commodores. Tavares. I mean, we'll delve into all
The Fatback Band was another one.
Yep. I mean, tons and tons of bands had this era on lock. And then, like you said, Black empowerment, your Black-owned record labels like Motown and your favorite Stax, Philly International. And all the songs were like empowering Black folks, man, speaking positively, but also letting people know about the condition of the neighborhoods. Like everything wasn't all good, and letting people know, hey, in some of these inner cities, in some of these rural areas, this is the life we're experiencing, and we're gonna put these experiences on wax. So yeah, man, so much good music from the 70s, man, and the musicianship. My God, the live instrumentation and the lyrics. We could spend a whole segment, 30 minutes, just talking about that part of it. So yeah, man. So for those of you who are watching, I appreciate y'all for jumping in. Tell me and Q, what are some things that you love and enjoy about music in the 1970s? I see someone mentioned, we were talking about our segment of bands, we talked about Rufus and Shaka Khan. That's probably my favorite band outside of Earth, Wind, and Fire from the 1970s. So what do y'all love about music from the 1970s? All right. And I appreciate y'all joining us. If you're just now jumping in, QG and I are here today on the season 2 debut of Saturday Sit Down, talking about our favorite 70s soul jam. So we appreciate y'all being on here with us this afternoon. Topeka Simpson, who's one of our favorite followers and one of our consistent viewers, stated, I was born in the 70s, so I was fully immersed. All right, Q, we done got a whole bunch of comments about the attire. Peep this one right here. Check this one out. Monique Miller says, I'm getting Sinbad Summer Jam vibes. I'm loving it. Shout out to Sinbad, man.
Sinbad made sure to keep the funk alive in the late 80s, early 90s. He was one of the purveyors, I think. No, not the Soul Beach. Was it Soul Beach Music Festival? Or did he have his own music festival?
He had his own, yeah.
Yeah, but he was one of the ones that definitely kept the funk alive.
Absolutely, man. Him, and shout out to Tom Joyner, who's still doing his fantastic Voyage cruise.
Yep.
He's another one.
Yep. So quick factoid, we actually were recently in Aruba a couple weeks ago, and that's where they used to hold the Soul Beach Music Festival. Well, apparently, I think it was either last year or this year is the last of it. Like, they're not doing it anymore. I don't know why the organizers are stopping, because we talked to the people, the cab drivers that live on the island, and they were saying that they loved it. They loved the vibe. So, but for whatever reason, they're no longer having the Soul Beach Music Festival there. So it's a shame.
Oh man, that's unfortunate, man. So we got a lot of comments, man. So JR, the big homie JR, he says the 70s to me was more artistic for our Black artists. We had something to say, and we put the message in our music. In fact, the OJs have an album called Message in Our Music.
Yep.
Timogen Scott gave a shout out to the live instrumentation, lyrical content, and the funk. I think when we each share our top 7, I'll get to that in a minute, but we share our top 7 songs, we'll hit on some of those funky songs you talked about. And Sasha Hammond says, I love the 70s because they had real R&B. Absolutely. I had a discussion with some fellow music lovers about this anyway. Once you start getting into once you start getting into the 80s with the advancement in technology, man, you sort of lose some of that that live instrumentation, and it starts going to more of a synthesized sound once we get into the 80s, once you start getting into that Jerry Curl soul. So let's jump into our next point. So we are now about to drop into our top 7s instead of our top 5s. So Q, tell the people why we decided to go away from doing our top 5 and doing our top 7s instead.
We decided to do the top 7 this time, just to kind of switch it up a little bit, because most people are used to us doing either top 5 or top 10. So this time we were like, you know what? 70s, number 7, 7 Jewels. If you know, you know. So we decided to go with the top 7 this time versus our normal top 5, just to switch it up,
Yeah, change it up a little bit, man. Plus 7 is a pretty dope number, man. Biblical reference, it's the number of completion. So we're going to stick with top 7, and who knows, we may continue with this moving forward. But from the previous episode, from some of the feedback from the last episode, many of you wanted us to delve into the top 10, but we decided, we said, yeah, we're gonna shorten it up a little bit because we could be here all night. You know, you're talking about two music nerds here. We're gonna talk all night when it comes to something that we love and we're passionate about. So this is how we're gonna do it, people. So instead of going in, typically we will say we're gonna go from 7 to 1. But this time we're going to do in no particular order. And the reason why we're going with no particular order, because Q and I have been talking, it was hard as heck for us to come up with a top 7. I mean, we could have done a top 30 70 soul songs from each of us, because when we get to the portion of the show called songs that didn't make the cut, y'all probably going to be mad at us because we left off some stone cold jams, as Don Cornelius would say. So we're going with our top 7 in no particular order. All right, QG, I'm going to let you kick it off for us, brother. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start with your number 1. Let's tell the people about song number 1.
All right, and now, mind you, this isn't necessarily my number 1 song overall in life.
Let's be clear on that, yeah.
But, you know, just for the purposes of this list, it's the first one that came to mind. So today, this young man hails to us from Memphis, Tennessee. He had 2 number 1 albums in the same year, both reaching gold and probably platinum status, but there was no platinum status when this gem dropped in the year 1973. So he's here to do his latest single on High Records, and it's entitled Living for You. So show your love for the one and only Reverend Al Green.
All right, Q. Now tell the people about this song who may not know about it, okay?
So basically, Al Green, you know, like I said, he came from Memphis. This was one of his, I think this was like off of his 4th or 5th album. And this was before he had the incident with the Grits. Living for You, basically, it's a love song. You know, he's basically telling his, you know, girlfriend, wife, whoever, that, you know, I'm living for you. I'm doing all this stuff for you. And it's just so soulful. Like the High House Band had all the right instruments in place, and they all hit at the right time. And so the whole album is actually dope.
Yeah, it is, man. One thing I'll say, when I was listening to this as we were preparing for the show for this week, one thing I love about this song is the fact that, like, the lyrics are not like, they're very simplistic, but he gets the point across, man. And like you said, that band hitting, bro.
Yeah, and I mean, they always, from the time they formed in the late 60s, up until, you know, I would say 1980. I mean, everything that they dropped, it was always on time, on point. And Al was actually a kind of a band leader, because I went down the rabbit hole of seeing some clips from Soul Train performances, and he, you know, would tell them like, okay, you're too loud. He had like a signal that he would give them to tell them they're either too loud, or, you know, there was a part where he wanted to kind of tone it down so that you could hear his singing a little bit more. So yeah, so he kept the band tight.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, man, I appreciate that, man. So the one thing I always love about Al Green, like, you could tell, man, that church background, he always got churchy in his lyrics, man. Even when he was singing about a young lady, I love it. I love it.
And I want to say, and I got to look this up, but I feel like the song Jesus is Waiting is on this album, but I want to double check and make sure. I have to go back. But that was kind of touching on his, when he started feeling like he needed to kind of cross over from being R&B to more of a gospel singer.
Yeah. So someone said, they brought up your thing about Al Green being a band leader, and Monique Miller says the Soul Train performances, and said that drummer watched him the entire time. So he must have been the person who kind of gave people the cue, like, all right, this is when we're going to change over. This is when we're going to go up tempo or move on to the next part of the song. That's awesome.
Yep.
All right. So, and we bring up the church when it comes to Al Green, and many say that the church background is what's missing today in music. I don't disagree with that whatsoever. It goes back to that, in order to become an expert in any given field, you need 10,000 hours of practice at something. And that's what a lot of these singers are missing. They're missing that practice, because that was the breeding ground for soul and R&B singers for so long. That's where they get their stage presence from. We're able to learn how to cater to the people.
Yep. And so JR's World of Soul basically provided a fact check. Jesus is Waiting is actually on the Call Me album, which was 1971.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so Q's first song, even though it's not his necessarily number one, it's the first song on his list, is Al Green's "I'm Living for You." All right, so I'm gonna go to my first song on the list today, one of my personal favorites, and it's from the brothers, the Isley Brothers. All right, "For the Love of You." If I'm not mistaken, the Isley Brothers are the only group with the distinction of having a song chart in 6 different decades. How insane is that, man? These brothers been dropping hits since the late 1950s. They've been dropping hits. So "For the Love of You," part 1 and part 2. And the reason why it's called part 1 and part 2, because part 1 is like your radio edit, your single that you hear on the radio, and part 2 is the album cut, which is longer. So one thing about songs in the 70s, and we'll talk more about that, is these songs and sometimes were 7, 8, 10 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so they had to get their point across. So just a couple things about this track. It was the second single from their 1975 album, "The Heat Is On," which is dope. And it was a complete opposite of the first single, which was "Fight the Power," which you know is guitar-driven funk. Like it has a message behind the music. And the thing about the "Heat Is On" album, side A was all funk, almost like rock type music, and side B was all ballads. And this was the first song on side B. So what I love about this song, man, it's just so smooth, man. I mean, the lyrics to this song is so dope, man. Like basically he's saying everything that I'm doing, all that I'm giving is for the love of you. And one thing I've noticed when I was kind of dissecting the lyrics a little bit when it comes to this song is he talks about day will make the way for night. All we need is candlelight in a song.
That's
and
right.
then he goes into, then later on, he talks about how he's basically run out of words to express to her. And he's told her all these things and given her all this beautiful imagery and said, maybe I should put it in a card that can say it better because I've run out of things to say. But just know this, I'm living for the love of you.
That's all right.
Any comments on that song, brother?
Man, I mean, you talk about a 2-step classic. I mean, that is a 2-step classic. Like I don't care where you are. You hear that song, you're gonna want to, hey, come on, let's go ahead and cut this rug on the floor real quick.
Yeah, for real. And one thing I like about this song, like I said, man, just the lyrics, man. Like, let me see, what's lovely as a ray of sun that touches me when the morning comes, feels good to me. Like, bring back innuendos in songs. Like, we know what he's talking about.
That's right.
But he's saying it without saying it.
Without saying it.
Yeah,
and that's what made the 70s, well, really up to the 80s unique, was that, you know, they knew what they were saying. They just didn't come out, they weren't bold with it. You know, they was undercover with what they were saying, but you know what they wanted to do. So
yeah. I mean, glad to be here alone with a lover unlike no other. Sad to see a new horizon slowly coming into view. So basically, I've spent the evening with you, but now the sun's coming up and it's time for me to go. Man, come on, man.
Yep.
Quit playing with him, Uncle Ron. So a couple facts before we move on from this joint, man. So did y'all know that Whitney Houston actually covered this song on her second album, Whitney, and it was nominated for a Grammy. So she actually received a Grammy nomination for covering this song. And hers is more of has a jazzy type feel to it. If you've ever heard Whitney Houston's cover of "For the Love of You," super dope. And also, this song this was the B-side of the Heat Is On album, also included Sensuality and another top-tier Isley Brothers joint, Make Me Say It Again, Girl. All those songs are on one side of an album. So you get the first side, and then you get the sexy side.
And then you know who sampled Make Me Say It Again, Girl.
Yep. And some folks was mad about that thing. Yeah, Miss Beyonce knows. I don't want to incur the wrath of the Beehive, but you know what? I'm gonna give credit where it's due. She did a thing on it.
And I liked it. I actually liked how they were able to blend the two together, because two different singers, 2 different decades of when the song came out. Hell, Beyonce wasn't even born when the song came out, but they blended it so smooth. You would think that they were singing a duet together.
Yep.
But I was gonna say that song was also, I believe, sampled by 3 6 Mafia.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So that just goes to show, you know, how dope it is and how you could just take it and flip it, which is what a lot of rap artists did with 70s soul jams.
You know, it's funny, like at the beginning when Ron is, like he started off like that. I mean, you can already tell he about to take us there, man. That's what I used to love about those songs, man. So we're gonna keep it there. All right, Q. Give us song number 2. What you got?
Okay, so this next group coming to the stage gave us one of the smoothest 70s, late 70s love songs. This song was so impactful that it may have been played at somebody's wedding. And so they gave us this classic in September of 1976 on A&M Records. It's entitled Love Ballad. So put your hands together for Love, Togetherness, Devotion, aka LTD.
Yeah, excellent choice.
I chose this song because, touching back to what I said earlier, this might have been played at somebody's first dance on April 28th, April 28th, 2018.
All right. There you go. I was going to say, be careful. He's about to put your foot in it.
I know I was about to get in trouble, but that was my wife, Sasha Hammond, our first song, first dance track. And it's beautiful. And the lyrics speak to the both of us, because there's one part of the lyrics that says, and what we have is much more than they can see.
Yes, sir.
And so our love is much more than what people can see. And so Jerry Osborne did his thing with LTD to the point where he had to kind of break out and become a solo artist off of what he did with them. But Jeffrey wasn't just the lead singer. He was also the drummer of the group. But I mean, if you listen to those lyrics just speak to love. You know, it just speaks to love. And that is the perfect, in my opinion, first dance wedding song.
Yeah. And the title is appropriate, man. Like, what we have is much more than they can see.
That's right.
I've never been in love. I mean, come on, man. Like, if you have to have experienced that type of love to be able to identify with those type of lyrics, man.
Definitely. And especially, you know, when two people that come together and nobody would see it coming. You know, that part of the song, and what we have is much more than they can see, speaks to us. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. All right. Dope choice there, man. Like you said, a lot of people don't know, but Jeffrey Osborne started out as the drummer for LTD. But the best thing they ever did was move that brother from behind that drum set and put a microphone in front of his face, because he has one of the most unique and soulful voices in R&B music, period, man.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that song can actually be found on the album itself entitled Love to the World.
Okay.
So if you're looking for that song, you're looking for the album for it, the album is Love to the World. And and it sounds so good on vinyl.
It does, man. It sounds great on vinyl. The Soul Train performance of them singing this was good. I mean, I don't know if you've seen that one before. Jeffrey got the little mini fro with the dark glasses on. Yeah, that's all right. So QG's number 2 was LTD's Love Ballad from 1976. And what was the name of that album again, for those people who may be looking for that?
Love to the World.
All right. So if you are just now joining us, welcome to the Saturday Sit Down. QG and I are sharing our top 7, not our top 5, our top 7 70s soul songs. So for my number 2, I am going to showcase a song by my favorite band from the 70s. In fact, it comes from this album with this album cover on it, All in All. And that song is Fantasy by Earth, Wind, and Fire. And it was actually released in 1978, again from their All in All album. So some interesting facts about this song. One, it is so back in the day when they would release a single on a 45 or sometimes a 12-inch, they would release an A-side and a B-side. So the A-side was Fantasy, and the B-side is another dope song from this same album. And the B-side of this album was Be Ever Wonderful. So you know that thing probably flew off the shelves, man. I mean, you got two great songs on one single disc right there. So interesting things I learned about this song as we were looking up. So it took Maurice White 3 months to write the song. 3 months. And he was inspired after he finished watching the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which is crazy because he talks about in the song, take a ride on the ship, Fantaside. So I'm pretty sure that's where the inspiration comes from for that. And if you listen to the lyrics of the song, there's so many different interpretations of it. Like some people say that it's about finding your destiny. Every dream, aspiration has its beginning as a fantasy or a dream. But when I listen to this song, okay, I'm gonna reference some lyrics here. When I listen to this song, yeah, those things may be true, but for me, it ain't necessarily because I'm a believer, but I feel like the imagery brings to mind the afterlife. So here's some examples, man. Come to see victory in a land called fantasy, loving life for you and me, to behold to your soul is ecstasy. You will find other kind that has been in search of you. Many lives have brought you to recognize it's your life now in review. Now you can't sit here and tell me based on those lyrics this song ain't about heaven.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. And Maurice White says it's not. Like he talks about metaphysical, because he was into that kind of stuff, the metaphysical and dreams, your realities becoming, I mean, your fantasies and your dreams become reality. But you look at these lyrics, this is about the afterlife, regardless of what your religious beliefs may be. Most religious groups believe in some form of an afterlife. Yes. This song's about the afterlife, and I'm gonna stand on that.
I fully agree, and Fantasy is actually one of my favorite Earth, Wind, and Fire songs of all time. It's just I mean, listen to the opening of it. Yeah. And you don't know if you can dance to it. You don't know if you should just kind of bob your head to it or groove to it. But it's just, I mean, the opening is everything. And actually, I take that back. That's not how it actually opened. It opened the ding, 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 ding. And so you don't know where they're gonna go.
Yeah. And then it drops right before they go into the end, almost, I guess, the bridge of the song.
Yeah.
That right back, that beginning to bring it back down, and they build it right back up again.
And then my favorite part is Philip Bailey. Philip Bailey hitting them high notes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He was like, yeah. Philip Bailey was that dude, and he, still is. I mean, he can somewhat hit them high notes now. He older, but he was that dude. Like at that point in time, if you wanted somebody that could sing a falsetto and or hit them high notes, Philip Bailey was the one that could do it.
Absolutely, man. And I wrote in my notes, man, I said, this song is a masterclass in musicianship. From the harmonies and the vocals and the instrumentation and, man, them horns. And then you can hear Verdine in the background with that bass. Man, come on, man.
Yep. And so, fun fact, we were talking earlier about how you had so many Black-owned record labels, which, you know, a lot of them were Black-owned, but they were white-fronted in the sense that they were distributed by larger labels. Well, Maurice White had his own label called American Recording Corporation, or ARC Records, and it was distributed by Columbia.
Yep.
And you may know, some people may or may not know this, but his label was responsible for giving us Denise Williams and what I call the second iteration of The Emotions.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. Yep. And let me see. Brother Gordon brought in a good point. Listen, it's funny that the songs that we choose usually align with each other. Maurice White also started out as a drummer, part of the Ramsey Lewis trio, and he was a drummer with them before breaking out on his own.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, here's a good comment right here. L. Abney says, Earth, Wind, and Fire whole catalog is a masterclass. I don't dispute that, man. One bit.
I agree. Yeah. I agree.
I completely agree with you there. So, yeah, we won't belabor the point there, but yeah, that's a dope track. So I'm going to recap real quick. All right. So QG's first song was Al Green's I'm Living for You, and his number 2 was Love Ballad by LTD. My number 1 was the Isley Brothers For the Love of You, Part 1 and 2. And my number 2 was Fantasy by Earth, Wind, and Fire. QG, get your number 3.
All right. So, number 3, this next group coming to the stage hails, well, basically they formed at Tuskegee Institute, aka Tuskegee University in Tuskegee, Alabama, in the late 1960s. They gave us what I consider to be one of my most favorite songs from the Motown Records label in the year 1977, March to be exact. Song is entitled Zoom, and that group is the Mighty Commodores.
Yep. So tell us about the song, man. This
Ooh,
is when you sent me your list and I saw Zoom on there.
Yeah.
I said, I text you back, I hit you back and said that was on my list, but I'm gonna let you have that
I
one.
mean, just from the opening, you could tell it's gonna be a smooth one. It's like boom, doop, 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 dun, 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 dun. And I mean, it's just a song that makes you just kind of think. Like if you listen to their to the lyrics, it says Zoom, I want to fly away.
Yeah.
You know, zoom, 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 zoom. And it just makes you think like what would happen if you were to just fly away. Now, I mean, people could take that in different ways, but to me, it's a song that makes you think. It's just so laid back.
It is.
It's just so laid back. And I mean, the Commodores was that group that gave us, they may not have started out with a lot of hits when they first signed with Motown, which fun fact, Motown had a label that they started initially when they moved to Los Angeles, and they called it Motown West or Mo West. So the Commodores was one of the first groups to sign to that label. But then Motown, I guess, when they fully moved all their operations to LA, they just scrapped it and then moved everybody over to the regular Motown Records label. But yeah, the Commodores, they didn't necessarily start out with hits, but then right around that 1974-5 period was when they caught lightning in a bottle. And next thing you know, it was hit after hit after hit after hit. And then, as we all know, Lionel Richie, he used to play the, I think he used to play the keyboards as well as becoming the lead singer. And then he ended up, going off and doing a solo thing. They also were in a movie in 1978 called Thank God It's Friday, which was a disco-oriented movie, but they were like some of the main characters in that movie. So Commodore's catalog, you cannot go wrong at all.
You can't. Yeah, man. Like, and Lionel Richie's like this right here, his pen game. They're one of the greatest songwriters, and I'm not gonna say R&B music history. I'm gonna say pop music. Period. Yeah. Lionel Richie, dope, a great musician, awesome songwriter, and still looks like he did when we were kids.
Yeah, basically. Although he does kind of look like a lion.
Yeah. Lionel.
I mean, his name is Lionel. He kind of looks like a lion. But shout out to Lionel Richie because he made some dope classics with the Commodores and on the solo tip.
Yes,
and if you're looking for the album that Zoom is on, is actually on their self-titled album called Commodores.
Yeah. So let me tell you something I found out about this song. Okay. This is one of the Commodores' most popular songs, but it never released as a single in the United States.
Wow.
Never released as a single in the United States. It only released in the UK, but this is by far probably one. I would say this is probably one of their signature songs along with Brick House. Yeah. But it never released as a single in the United States.
That's crazy. Like, I wonder why Berry Gordy wanted to go in that direction, because I'm sure if it released here in the States, it would have did numbers.
Absolutely. Yeah. It probably, back in the day particularly on Black radio, a lot of radio DJs at that time, if they dug a song, they was going to play it regardless if it was single or not. So that's probably how it ended up catching fire like it did. But for it, that totally blew me away to find out that it was never released as a single in the United States, but it was a UK like top 15 hit. Crazy.
That's that I never knew. That's interesting.
Yeah. So QG's number 3, the Commodores, Zoom, released in 1977. So my number 3 is my favorite song by this brother band. All right. In fact, with this afro as crooked as it is on my head right now, I look like I could possibly be related to them, descendant of their father, Joe Jackson. All right. So, so these brothers hail from Gary, Indiana, and this song was released on their Maybe Tomorrow album in 1971. And this song is Never Can Say Goodbye by the Jackson 5. This is probably my favorite Jackson 5 song. And one thing I noticed when you listen to the song, I probably listened to the song about 4 or 5 times leading up to the show. Man, Michael Jackson singing this. He was 12 years old at the time, and he's singing this song like he done worked 12 hours at the steel mill with steel boots on, and he tired, man. He just can't leave this girl alone. I can't let you go. I never can say goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
I love it.
Yeah, I love that. I love this song, man.
I love it.
It's just so mellowed out and smooth. And like I said, man, MJ, 12 years old, was singing this song like he was a man who lived an experienced life at that point and was singing it to his young lady. But yeah, he was going through, he sounded like he was going through some stuff when he was singing this song.
Right, right.
So I know y'all probably remember the movie Jackson's An American Dream. This was the song that they were playing when Jermaine left the group.
Yep, it sure was. It sure was.
You know, when he married Hazel Gordy and he chose her over the group.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so what a lot of people may not know is that the Jackson 5, when they left Motown to go to CBS via Philadelphia International, they had to leave their name behind. So that's why they changed the name from Jackson 5 to the Jacksons. And also probably because even though Jermaine left, Randy stepped in for the group. And also the Jacksons got basically charged a tax. Like they got charged like $500,000 to leave Motown.
Wow.
$500,000 in the 70s was a lot of money.
You ain't lying. You ain't lying. Especially for a group that didn't write their own songs.
Right. $500,000 was a lot of money to leave the label, but they wanted to go in a different direction. And I guess Berry Gordy wanted to keep them, in the more, bubblegum R&B pop type lane, and they weren't feeling that because they were older by then. Like Michael's voice had already started changing and everything else, so there was no way they could stay in that realm.
Yeah.
And so but they made a better move, in my opinion, when they went over to CBS.
Yeah, they did. And if y'all listen to Questlove Supreme's podcast, he talks about knowing that once they got to Philadelphia International, and even though they did the production on those two albums, which were the Jackson self-titled and then Going Places, which are dope albums, by the way. People don't talk about that Philadelphia International period of Jackson 5, man. That was a great period of music for them. But he talked about him knowing that they were ready to kind of go out on their own, and him seeing the talent that Michael had where they were ready to go out on their own and write and produce all their songs. And after that, after they left Philadelphia International, they dropped Destiny. And then after Destiny, you got The Wiz, and then Off the Wall, and the rest is history.
Basically. Yeah. The rest is history. I mean, Shake Your Body to the Ground. I was going to put it in there in my 7, but it was just so hard. But that is probably one of my favorite Jackson's jams.
Yeah. So an interesting thing I learned about this song, a couple more, and then we'll move on. This song is actually written by Clifton Davis. If any of y'all know who Clifton Davis is, he played Reverend Dr. Reuben Gregory on the show Amen, which came on NBC in the 80s. He is actually responsible for writing this song. He also played Clifton on the show from the 70s called That's My Mama. Yep. But I don't know if Joe the Policeman was on there, like Randy Watts. All right, so yeah, my number 3 is Jackson 5, Never Say Goodbye. Q, give us number 4, brother.
Okay, so for number 4, this young man, comes to us from Chicago, Illinois. He basically gave us one of the dopest soundtracks of the 70s. And he was a prolific producer for many people and many other soundtracks. So, and he was also one of the few Black-owned label heads, or he owned his own label during that time period. I'm gonna drop you the latest single from his album, from the soundtrack album called Superfly, and the song is entitled Pusher Man, and his name is Curtis Mayfield.
Curtis Mayfield, one of the dopest.
One of the dopest. So Curtis actually had a few labels prior to the 1970s, but the label that brought him the most prominence was called Curtum Records. And I believe he started that with I think it was Tom Bell. I gotta go back and look that one up, but I know for sure that he was one of the few Black label heads and owners during that time period. He was commissioned to do the soundtrack for the movie Superfly, and this came out in July of 1972. And man, he was actually, and he was even in the movie. A lot of people may not realize that, but he was actually in the movie Superfly.
I didn't
Um,
know that.
yeah, there was a particular scene where Priest, which one of the main characters was walking into like a bar or club, and it was three. Well, I don't really want to say they Black Panthers, but they were Black revolutionaries that saw Priest walking in. They knew, that he was a coke dealer, and so they tried to get him to make a donation. Well, Curtis Mayfield was one of the dudes with the group trying to get him to make a donation.
Wow.
And so if you listen to that album, the whole entire album is just, I mean, it's classics. And it always fit with the different scenes
Yeah.
that were going on. But, Pusher Man basically was one of those songs that pushed the limits of what you could actually get away with saying on the radio, because there's a lyric in there that says, baddest bees in the bed, I'm your pusher man.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm your mama, I'm your daddy, I'm that in the alley.
You know? And I mean, Curtis basically was so smooth with it, but that song actually pushed what limits of what they actually allowed to be played on the radio. He did a live performance of it on Soul Train, and when he did it, they had to kind of, the way they edited it out, it wasn't as smooth as how they do it today.
No, I've seen that video before.
Right, but that's just because they weren't ready. They, I guess, may not have known how to edit when it got to those parts.
Yeah.
But yeah, Curtis was definitely one of the dopest producers of that time period. The soundtrack was dope. Movies even more dope about dope. And it basically was a precursor telling people this is what's going on in the inner cities, that drugs is everywhere. And at that time, coke was one of the main, and heroin, I guess, one of the drugs of choice, but it was starting to tear up the hoods.
Yep. Yeah, as much as that album has songs that match the movie, it also is kind of like a warning, like don't do these things that you're seeing in your neighborhood, man. Give Me Your Love and Little Child Running Wild. They're my joints right there on that album, man. I was listening to that today.
Yeah, and I mean, Freddie's Dead, even though it's a sad song about one of his runners that was dead, I mean, the music, it makes you want to jump in a 72, 73, Cadillac Eldorado, with the fifth wheel, and cruise the city. Yeah. And then he had another song that goes, Eddie, You Know Better. Well, that song was dope too.
Yeah.
I'm looking at some of the comments, and of course, my LB Wally Gordon Jr. said Ice-T sampled this song. He sure did. For High Rollers.
Yeah.
No, not High Rollers. Not High Rollers. I got to go back and look, but he did sample the song.
Okay. Yeah, look, someone made sure we had to pronounce that Tom on there. Kurt Tom.
And once again, JR's Word of Soul gave me a fact check. Curtin Records was started by not just Curtis, but also Eddie Thomas. Not Tom Bell. It was Eddie Thomas. So shout out to JR's Word of Soul for keeping this straight.
All right. Yeah, man. Hey, excellent choice there, as always, brother. So I'm going to jump to my number 4, which in my opinion is the greatest song ever written. It is the greatest love song ever written. It is from what many consider to be this artist's magnum opus, his best album, his best work. And that song is, and you probably already know where I'm going with this, As by Stevie Wonder. What can I say about this song that hasn't been said already? My boy Smitty Soul Shack says that Stevie Wonder is God's favorite artist. I don't disagree with that. I mean, you talking about just talented, out of this world, can play every instrument, just an amazing lyricist. This song is, I don't know, man. It's just a beautiful song. That's as simple as I can put it. One thing I love about this song is he's basically telling he's telling his significant other, I'm going to love you until it's damn near impossible to do so. Until the rainbows burn the stars out in the sky. Till 8 times 8 times 8 is 4, which means that's never going to happen. Till dolphins fly and parrots live at sea. Till oceans cover every mountain's high. Come on, man. Always. Great song.
Man.
You know what's crazy? Like, I didn't know what the name of this song. I thought the name of the song was Always until I was in my 20s, but he opens it as at the beginning, and that's the name of the song.
Same here, but I like it.
Yeah, I dig it.
I love the song, and Stevie was another one who had the game on lock for multiple decades,
Yeah.
not just one decade. I mean, his he was doing things 60s, 70s, 80s, up until the 90s, and
Mhm.
so yeah,
Yeah. And someone, yeah, added it until the day that you are me and I am you, until we unite as one. All right, we are speaking, we are a part of the same body. That's how long I'm gonna love you. And that's deep, man. That's
very,
deep. Yeah, yeah.
very,
Crazy pen game. And
yeah.
it ain't a whole lot I can say about this song that most people don't know, but that song gets heavy play in my household because my wife loves the song just as much as I do. It's just one of those songs I will never, ever, ever get tired of, and I'm pretty sure I have it on multiple playlists. But this song is dope, man, and it's deep.
Oh yeah, very deep, very deep.
All right, you ready to go to your number five?
I am ready for my number five,
All right,
definitely.
what we
So,
got?
all right, so number five, this next group gave us one of the classics. I mean, even to this day, you put that song on, and it just kind of speaks to the fellas who were wanting to know, where is she?
Mm-hmm.
Is she out there? I'm gonna have to find her.
Yeah,
The album, it came off the album For God's Sake, Give More Power to the People, that dropped in October 1971 on Brunswick Records. The single is entitled Have You Seen Her? The group is known as the Mighty Shy Lights.
tell them about it. Tell them about it. So I love this song.
I picked this song because the guy basically to open the monologue was like, he was trying to find her. He was like, I'm sitting in the park, you know, talk to the kids, laugh, joke, but still, have you seen her?
Yeah.
Have you seen her?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why oh why
Yeah.
did she have to go away?
Yeah.
It's just dope. And
Yeah.
I mean, if you've been in the game of love, you've had those moments where you wonder, have you seen her?
Yeah.
Song was so dope that it was also sampled by MC Hammer
Yeah.
for his album Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him.
Yeah. And he did a
And,
good job. He did a
and
good
it
job,
sold.
man.
It helped push that album to diamond status.
It did.
So, and believe it or not, I mean, the Shy Lights had multiple classics,
Yeah,
not
they
just
did.
Have You Seen Her?
Yeah.
I mean, Old Girl.
Oh yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on now.
Someone gave Kamani gave the Shy Lights a shout out here. Said an underrated group led by an even more underrated songwriter, Eugene Record. Yeah, man.
New Records pen game was mean, and he wrote for a lot of people besides the Shy Lights, and he even had his own solo album as
Hmm.
well.
Yeah. And one thing, man, all those harmonies, and you had that back in the day, especially in that era, you had to have a dude that sung falsetto in your group. Or if you didn't,
Oh
man,
yeah,
the group wasn't hitting.
basically,
Yeah.
basically, and those harmonies were all in sync. They were all on time. I mean, the song basically painted a picture,
Hmm. Yeah.
painted a picture.
And
So you can't go wrong when you hear the Shy Lights. Have you seen her?
so one thing I wrote down about this song, a couple things, man. Like I just said, man, he missed her so bad that he was having visions of her, and he going around asking people, "Has he? Have you seen her?"
Hmm.
That's how bad he missed her, man. He's just walking around. Have you seen her? Tell me, have you seen her?
Yeah, I mean, he's like, I see your face everywhere I look.
Yeah,
You
everywhere I go.
know,
Like, yeah,
come on now.
come
I
on,
mean, you don't. They don't. That's a song that is timeless.
yeah. And another thing, we talked about bringing back innuendos and songs. How about we bring back vulnerability, fellas? It's okay to express your emotions if you in love and you got somebody who you adore. Put it in the music, man. We ain't got to be all hard. It's okay. It's okay to be emotional and tell your woman how you feel. All right,
Hmm.
bring that back. So let's bring back innuendos and let's bring back vulnerability.
And
And
I mean, and that's what speaks to the love of that decade, especially in the early part.
yeah,
Because fellas were not afraid to be, as you say, vulnerable.
yeah,
They wanted a woman, they missed their woman, they need their woman. Go for it.
go for it, man. Yeah, yeah. You don't have ballads like these anymore, man. Yeah.
Nope.
Every now and then you'll get an artist that drops one, but unfortunately, those songs aren't being played on the radio like that.
Right. Right.
All right. So See, we got a few new people who joined us. Welcome to the Saturday Sit Down. I am nerdy. Excuse me, I called myself you. I am T. Harris, and when the needle drops with my co-host QG, the nerdy little Bubba, and we are sharing our top 70's soul songs. So I am going to drop my number 5 here. So this song is by one of our fraternity brothers who plays at Beta Chapter at Howard University. Who at that also on that campus developed a lifelong friendship, a lifelong enduring friendship and songwriting partnership with none other than Miss Roberta Flack. Unfortunately, he's probably one of the biggest what ifs in music, and I would have loved to have known what his career would have been like if he had not basically succumbed to his demons and some of his personal trauma and mental anguish. But during his short time, he definitely was impactful. And this is my favorite song by this artist, and I'm gonna share an interesting factoid about it. And it almost made me like it gave me chills, like reading the backstory behind this song. But to get to the point, my number 5 is "Someday We'll All Be Free" by Donny Hathaway, which was released in 1973 from his Extensions of a Man album. Yeah. So most people, when they think of this song, they automatically think of this as like a Black empowerment theme. It's a song of encouragement for Black folks, which it is. If that's how you want to take the lyrics, that is totally fine, because I've always viewed them like that until today. Right. So as I was researching and preparing for this, for our show, this is what I learned. So this song, the guy who wrote this song for Donny Hathaway, this song was actually written about Donny Hathaway's mental health and the anguish and struggles that he was going through, because at the time that this song and this album was being made, Donny was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. Yeah. So basically, the songwriter wrote this song as a way to encourage him about everything that he was going through, and hope that he would eventually end up being released from these demons and everything that was going on with him at that time, man. So like I said, when I read that backstory, and I always thought this song was this song of Black empowerment and like giving Black folks self-confidence and encouragement. It was a song that was written to help encourage Donny. And his wife said that after he heard the playback of the song, she was actually in the studio with him. He said he broke down to his knees and started crying.
Wow.
Yeah. Powerful stuff, man. And believe it or not, also, this song never ever charted on Billboard. And it's probably his signature song.
That's crazy.
Beyond This Christmas.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, it's interesting you mentioned his backstory, because I remember watching Unsung on TV1 where they talked about Donny Hathaway.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just so shocking that, you know, he was a musical genius, but he also had, like you said, the demons in his mind that he was trying to fight. And, you know, during that time, we didn't really have the resources available to us to kind of work through it, or, you know, you just didn't have it, and you really didn't have anybody to talk to.
Yeah.
Because people would, you know, just didn't speak about mental health issues.
They didn't.
You know, it was like, and if you did have something wrong, it was, you know, go to church, or, you know, what's wrong with you? And no, you know, that was not the way to handle it. And unfortunately, like you say, he wasn't able to get a handle of that, and so he became a big what if. Fun fact, well, not fun factoid, but a factoid is the Whispers did a song, I want to say, right shortly after Donny passed away, and it was entitled "A Song for Donny."
Yeah.
Because that's just how much of an impact he had on other artists.
Yeah. And what I love about Donny, despite him not being here, his legacy lives on through his daughter Layla, who is an amazing singer, songwriter. So she's definitely a chip off the old block. But like you said, man, Donny, if there were resources around at that time, and mental health therapists, and it wasn't a shame for men to be able to express their emotions outside of their songs, he could probably still be here with us, man.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And someone said, yeah, sadly, the way they handled mental health challenges back then was go to church, pray it off, or stay locked up in your room upstairs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful song. And one thing that Layla does, she gatekeeps her father's legacy. She do not play about him.
No, she does not. She does not at all. And she can sing. She's dynamic singer too.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Y'all haven't checked out her new album. It's called Vanta Black, and it is absolutely amazing. Yeah, shout out to Layla Hathaway. All right, so we're gonna move on to song number 6, man. It's hard to believe we almost at the end of our list, man. Give us your number 6, Q.
All right, so let's see. Number 6. This group formed in the late 1960s, early 70s, gave us numerous hits. When you're talking about a funk band that was able to transform throughout the decades, this is one of the bands that was able to do it. They gave us this classic in October 1976 on Delight Records, which was distributed by Mercury. The album is entitled Open Sesame. The song is entitled Open Sesame. And the group is Kool and the Gang.
Yes, sir. Man, I love this song.
I love it too. Just, I mean, who would have thought to take a genie and, say, open sesame. And then all of a sudden, boom. Yo. And I remember the first time I heard this song was my parents had the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack on an 8-track. So yeah, I'm old. I don't care. They had an 8-track player. Yes, they had 8 tracks. That's the first time I heard this song. Then I actually saw the movie a few years later. I saw the movie Saturday Night Fever. And this song was used by one of the couples. They had like a dance contest. And there was a black couple in the dance contest. And they used this song in that contest. But it's funny because the song came out in 1970. What did I say? 1976.
Yeah, 76. Yep.
And yeah, Saturday Night Fever came out in 77. But you play that song now, it's going to make you want to hit the dance floor.
Yeah,
for sure. And I want to say this was right around the time. This might have been just as JT Taylor was coming to the group or right before, because he wasn't the original lead singer.
No, he wasn't the original lead singer.
But he this might have been right around the time when he started coming into the group.
I think JT Taylor. So they had the Open Sesame album, I think one other, and then JT Taylor came in. So I think 78, 79 with Ladies Night when JT Taylor came in the group. Yeah.
Right. And if you notice, like a lot of their songs were instrumentals.
Yep.
A lot of the songs they played like a lot more instrumentals than they did a lot of singing during that early phase. Because if you go in there, also the group that gave us Summer Madness.
Yep.
And if you didn't know who sampled Summer Madness, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
Yeah, that song's a vibe, man. Summer Madness, and then Jungle Boogie and Hollywood Swinging. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's 2 versions of Kool and the Gang. You got the jazz funk disco band, and then you get that smooth out R&B almost pop phase. And that was probably that's crazy thing about it, that was their most successful phase. So like I said, you get 2 iterations of the band, and that extended their career another 10 years or so once they added JT Taylor to the mix.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. So, man, when I was listening to the song a couple days ago, I said, this should have been the theme song for Disney's adaptation for Aladdin. Since Will Smith was the genie and folks made a big deal about the genie being black. It don't matter if the genie black, he blue.
Right. Well, that's just like people that was upset about Little Mermaid and Ariel. It's a whole mermaid, which is not even real, but they was upset about Halle Bailey playing the mermaid. So go figure.
Yeah, it's a fictional character. Who cares what color they are? Like, I mean, this song right here sound like if you found a genie lantern in storage of Studio 54 or in the supply closet on the set of Soul Train. Like. It is the blackest, like, fantastical song ever. But I love it,
man. Yeah. It's like it'll transport you. Like you actually, you see the genie, and the genie's making you want to get down, So
yeah, Dope record. And you spoke of the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. That was probably the high point of the disco movement because that's a great album, man.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Number 6 for me. Good job on that one, Q. Open Sesame, man. That's our first instrumental song right there. Number 6 for me is from none other than Buffalo, New York's very own Mr. Rick James. And this song was the lead single off his first album, Come Get It. And the title of this song is You and I. All right. And for this, I was surprised to know this was Rick James' first like single, even though he'd done some stuff like the Minor Birds prior to that when he was working with Motown. So if you know Rick James' story, man, you know this dude's like he's almost like the Black Forrest Gump. Like his connections, they need to have a game called 6 degrees of separation of Rick James. But this song right here, you talking about coming out the gate hard for a debut single?
Mm-hmm.
Just dope, man. It was his first number 1 hit. It was a top 15 Billboard hit, and he's basically saying like, "This how close we are. You and I, we are close as 3-part harmony. We're gonna be together eternally." We fit together like a hand and glove, and basically saying, as far as I'm concerned, all these people who got something to say, they can go to hell.
Basically,
yeah. So yeah, shout out to Rick James, the late great Rick James, man. This song right here, you talking about coming out the gate swinging for a first single? Yeah, this the joint right here, and it's funky, man. Like the album version of the song is dang near 10 minutes long, and like I love it, man, because like. He's singing about love, and then all of a sudden it's everybody dance on the phone. Yep, everybody is that. Like, yeah.
Well, no, I was just gonna say that earlier you touched on the fact that a lot of songs back then, could go easily, over 5, 6, 7 minutes, right?
Yeah.
It speaks to our attention spans.
Mm-hmm.
Because back then people actually didn't mind the song going over 10 minutes.
No.
Whereas now, if you notice, a lot of songs are cutting off at like a little over 2 minutes, sometimes a little over 3 minutes. But you're not going to see songs that go longer than that.
Yeah.
So that just goes to show our attention spans are, being reduced throughout the decades. And there's a lot of stuff that plays into it, technology, probably food.
But a little bit.
Yeah, but back during that time, it was not unusual for songs to be, of a certain length, and to the point where they would even press 12-inch singles.
Yep.
Dedicated for longer versions, longer single versions of the song.
Yep. Yeah, man. Yeah, Walt brings it. He said, yeah, the beat starts out one way and then goes in a totally different direction because you got then that bass drop. Boom, come on, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Topeka Simpson says Isaac Hayes would definitely give you a long intro
every time.
Because if you ever listen to the song I Stand Accused,
yeah, man,
that monologue goes on for about a good 3-4 minutes before you even get to the actual the beat of the song. Yeah. And then the song itself, I think, is almost 10 minutes long.
Absolutely, yeah. Like you said, it speaks to people's attention span. I don't know who the singer was, but she went viral because she was saying people don't listen to songs and albums no more. Like she took some heat, but she got a point. People don't really listen to whole songs, long songs, and albums like that anymore. It's about that quick soundbite. Boom. All right. I'm not putting shout out. I like Meg Thee Stallion music, but I'm not putting that song with her and that Japanese dude on any of my reels just to get some likes.
Right.
I mean, some of these videos have nothing to do with the content.
Song,
I'm gonna throw that song on there because I want to go viral. Yeah,
right.
Doing that, people.
Coach Eddie Young basically says that I think songs are short now because they can't sing as good. No need to expose yourself if you can't do it. I completely agree with you, Coach. 1000%.
Yep. Excellent point there, Eddie. So we are now at our number 7. So Q, let's do a quick recap for the people who tuned in late. So again, we are sharing our top 7 70 soul songs. So Q, go down your list 1 through 6 for the people, and I'll pop it up on the screen for them in case they missed it.
All right. So my first song was Al Green's "Living for You." My second song was LTD's "Love Ballad." Third song was the Commodores' "Zoom." Fourth song was Curtis Mayfield, Pusher Man. Fifth song was The Shy Lights, Have You Seen Her? Sixth song was Cool and the Gang, Open Sesame.
All right. So my first song, and again, these are in no particular order. This is just how they were listed, y'all, because it was hard for us to pick a favorite. So song number one for me was the Isley Brothers, For the Love of You, parts 1 and 2. Earth, Wind and Fire's Fantasy. Jackson 5's Never Can Say Goodbye. Stevie Wonder's As. Donny Hathaway, Someday We'll All Be Free. And Rick James, You and I. So Q, let's give the people your final song on your list.
All right. So my final song, this last group hails to us from Chicago, Illinois also. It is comprised of three, well, they're all sisters and their father. They gave us many classic songs of empowerment, but in this time they gave us a song off a soundtrack of a movie that starred Bill Cosby and or Sidney Poitier. It was distributed by, well, it came out in October 1975 on Curtom Warner Brothers Records. Song is entitled, the album that it came from is called Let's Do It Again, which is the name of the soundtrack of the movie. Let's Do It Again. The song is entitled Let's Do It Again from the mighty Staple Singers.
All right. So, man, you talked about Curtis Mayfield earlier. Curtis Mayfield was the king of soundtracks in the 70s, man. So this is another one of his soundtracks that he produced and wrote all the songs.
Yep, Curtis gave us the Superfly soundtrack. He gave us the Claudine soundtrack, which featured Gladys Knight and the Pips. And then he hit us with this one, the Let's Do It Again soundtrack with the Staple Singers. Then he hit us with the Sparkle soundtrack with Miss Aretha Franklin. Yeah. I mean, Curtis was on it
everywhere.
You could tell that it was a Curtis Mayfield produced track because of the lush, what I call the lush soundscape and instrumentation. You know, I mean, the minute he put that harp in there in a song, you know, that's Curtis Mayfield. This song right here, I mean, listen to how it starts out. It just starts out all nice and slick and smooth, you know. And I mean, there was the innuendo is, you know, let's do it again. You know, breeze in the morning time, you know, in the sunlight.
Yeah.
You know, now I joked with somebody about this before, how I was like, it's kind of weird that, you know, Pop Staples was singing a song with his daughter. Mavis was the one that was on the lead.
Yeah, I know.
You know, I just always found that to be just kind of a little weird, but
weird, yeah.
You know, it's okay. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But you know, this was on the soundtrack from the movie Let's Do It Again, starring, like I said, Bill Cosby, Sidney Poitier, John Amos, as you all know, was James Evans on Good Times. Jimmy Walker was also in the movie from Good Times. It was just so many different black actors, and I mean, everything was just dope. It was a whole vibe.
Yeah.
Whole vibe. And then, you know, the track got flipped in 1992 by none other than Ice Cube for Today's a Good Day. Now, not initially. The initial track that he used was an Ozzy Brothers song.
Footsteps in the Dark.
Footsteps in the Dark. But then he came out, hit us with the remix, and the remix came out using this. Quick funny story. So I'm home one day, I'm playing the radio, and the remix of Today Was a Good Day comes on. And so my parents are like, what are you doing listening to his Staple Singers? I said, that's not the Staple Singers. That's not the Staple Singers. That's Ice Cube. And my parents are like, no, that's the Staple Singers. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
That song came out, you know, before you was born.
Yeah. And it's crazy because, like, I remember my mom used to say the same thing. If we'd be riding in the car, listening to the radio together, she's like, y'all always using our music. Like, you know what, Mom? You should be glad we did, because now I appreciate the music from y'all's era, and I love it more than the contemporary stuff that I grew up on, man. So,
same here, and that's what also caused me to become such a beat junkie, because there were so many songs coming on that, you know, I had to go back and find out who did the original. After, of course, arguing with my parents that was not the people who did it.
Yeah. 90s, the mid to late 80s through the 90s was the era of soul sampling, man. The era for real, like the break beat or the certain loops like you instantly knew, like, okay, yeah, this new song is dope, but I know where the previous one came from. That used to be something I used to try to keep in my back pocket, man. And people used to hate that. I'd be like, the original song really wasn't by them. It was by the Staple Singers. People was like, man, shut up. Nobody care.
Right. But hey, we music nerds, so that's what music nerds do.
Absolutely. Oh, one other song you forgot to mention that sampled Let's Do It Again was JD Flip This with Escape.
Sure just did. Yep. Just kicking it. Yep. Sure did.
Yep.
Sure did.
Just kicking it. John Legend. Kanye flipped this on John Legend's debut album for the song Number One. Yeah. John Legend was toxic on that joint, but moving on. Yeah, man. Yeah, Mavis and Pops did their thing on it, but it's a weird dynamic because they're talking. It's a song about sexual innuendos, but then you got the daughter singing verse 1 and the chorus, and then the dad's on the second verse.
Right. So kind of weird, but it worked. 70s, and they made it work. And like I said, Curtis was on the boards, so yeah, he was able to put it together and make it sound lovely.
Yeah. So my last song, excellent choice there. Another Curtis Mayfield staple. My last song, man. Let me tell you how I described this song in my notes. I said this song is fire. It's funky like hot dog water. That's how funky this song is, man. It's from none other than Uncle Jam himself. Woo! George Clinton and Funkadelic. This song was released in 1979. And this song is Not Just Knee Deep, which I thought the name of the song was Freak of the Week for the longest. He says it throughout that song. But when I tell you, this is my jam right here, man. Yeah. I'm
putting the song in my head right now.
Yeah. Man, I'm telling you. Yeah. Man, that's my jam, man. So yeah. This song was released in 1979. It went to number 1 on the Billboard R&B charts. And you're talking about a song that's long. All right. Yeah. So I have this album. This is on the Uncle Jam Won't You album. George Clinton is sitting kind of like a Huey Newton in the Black Panther photo. He got the big wicker chair, but he's sitting in and he got on military guard with his legs crossed and combat boots on. But this song is the first track on side A, and it's 15 minutes and 21 seconds long. But it jams. It works, man.
It does.
Yeah, you can tell this was a jam session. So the one thing I love about George Clinton, whether it was with Parliament, whether it's with Funkadelic, whether it's with Parliament / Funkadelic, you could tell he was influenced by James. He was influenced by James. It didn't help that Bootsy, who was one of the core members of Parliament and Funkadelic, was a part of James Brown's band.
Yep.
So yeah, you can tell this is just funk to the core, man. I don't know how many of y'all remember the movie. Y'all remember the movie Good Burger? There's a scene. This is such a random. First of all, the movie is extremely random anyway. But I love the movie. My kids love the movie. So in the movie Good Burger, they're in an insane asylum and they're listening to the radio. And Ed, who's played by Kale, Kale Mitchell, goes over and switches the song on the radio. And all of a sudden, in unison, the asylum patient start dancing together. And all of a sudden, here comes George Clinton.
Yep. Right.
George Clinton was in the movie, man.
He was in the movie, yeah.
Yeah, and he sung along right with him too. Yeah. I tell you, I love this song, man. This is just funk on steroids, man.
Funk on steroids. And well, I'm pretty sure it was created with them being on some other stuff.
Yeah, they were definitely on some hallucinogens.
Oh yeah, they were on hallucinogens.
Yeah, we turn that word up. It's all good.
Tearing it up. They was definitely on all kinds of different various psychedelics and other drugs. Yeah. And they readily admitted it. I saw I think it was Bootsy Collins did an Unsung. Yeah. And basically when they went to the studio, that's all they did was just get high and make music.
Yep.
And then it also speaks to the different iterations because, like you said earlier, they had George Clinton had Parliament,
Yep.
Funkadelic,
Mm-hmm.
Parliament Funkadelic, the
Yep.
P-Funk All-Stars, had a lady group by the name of Parlay.
Yeah.
And it's sad though that he had all those groups, they made all those hits only for him to be robbed.
Yeah. That's sad, man.
And I mean, I think he got some of the money back finally, but he spent decades trying to fight to get his music royalties back.
Yep. Yep. So for most of us, we were introduced to George Clinton's music, Parliament Funkadelic, however, whatever iteration you want to call it, during the 1990s, because Funkadelic, George Clinton's music, was the sound that created West Coast hip hop.
Yep, sure enough.
Yeah. So, yeah, Walt even said it. He said that song made George a lot of checks via Death Row Records. Yep, because this sample was used in Dre Day.
Sure was. Yeah. And I want to say De La Soul.
De La Soul, yep. Me, Myself, and I.
Me, Myself, and I. And one of my favorite rap groups, X-Clan. X-Clan actually sampled this song also.
Yeah. Another group that sampled this song was Digital Underground with Kiss Me and I Kiss You Back. Remember that?
Yep.
They sampled this joint too. But yeah, that's, like I said, it's a dope song, man. And basically, he's saying in the song, man, he was dancing with a girl. She was showing him all these different dance moves. She did the jerk. That didn't work. She did the monkey. It wasn't funky no more. She did the chicken. None of that worked. But when she started doing a freak, it was a game changer.
Yay! The gal's a freak. Not just knee deep. I mean, now I'm probably going to have to listen to the song now because it's in my head.
Yeah, in the song, because I got the lyrics that she did the jerk. It didn't work, no. She did the monkey. It wasn't funky no more. The chicken wasn't picking, not just knee deep. She was totally deep when she did the freak with me. Yeah. She a big old freak. She the freak of the week.
Yep. Man. I mean, George actually made classics throughout that entire decade, even into the 80s.
Yeah.
Because he even helped Prince out. Well, he was in the movie
he was in
Bridge.
Yeah.
He was also in House Party.
Yeah, he was in House Party.
Yep, he was in House Party. He was a DJ at a party.
Yep.
So George actually had a long career, and should be more celebrated, in my opinion, career.
Yeah, because he's one of the. He took what James Brown did with the funk and took it to a whole nother level, man.
Yep.
Yeah, and believe it or not, the Parliaments, the name Parliament, because he had signed it initially with Motown.
He did.
They were a doo-wop group called the Parliaments, so that's where the name came from.
Yep.
All right, but yeah, George Clinton. In fact, George Clinton, our frat brother Kevin Wynn, he's like the George Clinton Parliament Funkadelic aficionado. He met him a few years back and got some of his records signed. But George Clinton just turned 80 years old this week, so he's still alive and kicking, man.
He's still alive and kicking. Believe it, somehow, despite all the stuff that he, let's just say, did, he is still with us, and that is a blessing.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, we don't accept George Clinton slander over here, man. All right, we have made it to the end of our 7. So we're gonna recap one last time for our 7. Q, read off your 7 for us, man.
All right, so my 7 are Al Green, Living for You, Love Ballad by LTD, Zoom by the Commodores, Curtis Mayfield, Pusher Man, The Shy Lights, Have You Seen Her, Kool and the Gang, Open Sesame, and the Staple Singers, Let's Do It Again.
All right, and my 7 was the Isley Brothers, For the Love of You, Part 1 and 2, Earth, Wind, and Fire's Fantasy, Jackson 5's Never Can Say Goodbye, Stevie Wonder as Donny Hathaway, Someday We'll All Be Free, Rick James, You and I, and our number 7 was Not Just Knee Deep by Funkadelic. So now we get to the segment where folks are probably gonna get mad at us, but before they get mad at us, Q, I'm gonna calm the waters a little bit. All right. So those of you who are in the chat and who are with us live, drop one of your favorite 70s soul songs, and we'll talk briefly about it. So we'll take a few comments in here. Tell us what your top 70s soul songs are. And it may be something different than what we have on the list, which is cool.
Okay, Topeka said Move On Up by Curtis Mayfield. That is another classic.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's a good one. Kanye sampled that on Touch the Sky, introduced that song to a new generation of folks with that back in 2005. Rock With You, MJ. Yep, he came in right before the 70s came to an end when that dropped in 1979. All right. Another Darling, Darling Baby by the OJs. Oh, yeah.
My favorite. Ooh. Now, of course, you know, the missus came through one of my favorites. You Ought to Be With Me.
Drop that fire in there. Boom.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Can't go wrong with any of these. All right, let me get a couple more here. Another favorite 70s soul song for those that are here. We appreciate y'all being with us, man. We've gone over an hour, which is fine. We ain't on Instagram Live anymore, so we got license to kind of go over. Here's another one. You talked about them earlier, QG.
Yep, Best of My Love, The Emotions. I love it.
Emotions. Family Reunion by the OJs.
I Want You by Marvin Gaye. Yeah, well,
Yeah. Superstition.
Yeah.
By Stevie Wonder. I Want You by Marvin Gaye. Mind Blowing Decisions by Heatwave. Speaking of groups from the 70s, bro, Heatwave don't get as much love as they should. Johnny Wilder Jr. used to be singing his tail off, man.
Mm-hmm. Sunshine by the Enchantment. Enchantment is one of my like sleeper groups. I don't know why they didn't blow up bigger than they did, but yeah, Enchantment is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Walk On By, Isaac Hayes.
Ooh, when you talk about Walk On By, he took that song by Deion Sanders and not Deion Sanders, Dionne Warwick and Burt Bacharach, not Primetime, and he completely flipped that thing and made it funky, man. I love it.
I love Shaka Khan's Stay.
That's a good one. That's one of the songs that didn't make the cut. Don't get mad at me, please.
Yeah. Al Green's Let's Stay Together. The first time I heard that song was because of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Midnight Train to Georgia. Can't go wrong with Gladys Knight and the Pips.
Shame by Evelyn Champagne King. She's another songstress from the 70s that needs more love than she gets. She's actually still out performing and doing her thing.
She was only 16 when she did. I think she was either 16 or 17 when she did Shame.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, she was young. She was mad young when she dropped her first song, I Don't Think It's Right.
Yeah.
And she worked for Philadelphia International Records as one of their secretaries.
Wow.
Yep.
We could probably do a show on Philadelphia International. In fact, man, that'd be maybe one of our next series. We talk about, we may do record labels, favorite songs from different record labels. I just dropped an idea in there. All right. Hello, It's Me by the Isley Brothers. Another example where a group took a song and performed it so well, you think it's theirs. But the original was sung by Todd Rundgren, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The Stylistics, People Make the World Go Round. Again, one of those groups with a falsetto lead.
Crooklyn, that's the first time I heard that song.
Yep, same. James Brown,
the Payback. That is my song. I wish I had. I couldn't figure out whether I should put it in the list or not, but that is the big Payback.
Yeah. Got to Give It Up by Marvin Gaye. Interesting fact about this song, it is actually on Marvin Gaye's Live in the London Palladium album. It is not released on any of his general release albums. So this is on his live album. Another Star by Stevie Wonder. Dirty Old Man by the 3 Degrees.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, Harold Melvin and Blue Notes, I Miss You.
Yes.
Love that song too.
Oh, we talked about drummers, right? Jeffrey Osborne.
Mm-hmm.
Maurice White. Teddy Pendergrass.
Yep.
Teddy Pendergrass was a drummer.
Sure was.
Yeah.
Now, Walt had to go to see. Walt had to do that. I Want to Be Your Lover by Prince. Prince, because that second album, because of that song right there, Prince was able to escape the sophomore jinx.
Yep. The first album was For You, right?
Yep. The first album was For You, and the second one was just Prince. But that song right there is what kept him from getting that sophomore jinx.
Yeah.
The whole album is fire. The whole album is dope.
Because that album also had the original version of I Feel For You.
Yep.
Which was written by Prince as a love song to his crush at the time, which was Patrice Rushen.
Yep.
Yep. Oh, another funky one. If You Want Me to Stay by Sly Stone. Every time I hear that song, it reminds me of the movie Dead Presidents.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Remember
Same
when,
thing with Isaac Hayes on Walk On By.
yep. And then Earth, Wind, and Fire's
Loves Holiday. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Do You Mind? That's a jam right there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So songs that missed the cut. All right, Q. You ready to make the people mad?
Yeah. Now for this one, I got so many. I got so many that didn't make the cut, so I'm gonna try to keep it short, sweet, and to the point.
Okay, yeah. Just give us a few gems that missed the cut. I'll let you go, and then I'll go.
All right. So first, I'm gonna say, let's see. Do I want to make people really upset?
Make them mad.
The first one I'm gonna pick is Betty Wright, Sister Betty Wright, rest in peace. Clean Up Woman, and Tonight Is the Night.
Ooh, Tonight Is the Night. Two-step classic.
Two-step classic. I promise you, if you live in the Charleston, Tri-County area and you happen to frequent any night spots, juke joints, lounge, disco, Oak Tree, Shack on a Saturday night, they're going to play Betty Wright's Tonight Is the Night.
This is one that I heard at my grandparents' house a lot. Yeah.
And it was sampled by Color Me Bad for I Want to Sex You Up.
Mm-hmm.
I also picked the Tavares, Heaven, Must Be Missing the Angel.
Yeah.
I picked Bobby Womack, Woman's Got to Have It.
MFSB. You making me mad. We supposed to be making people mad. You making me mad.
MFSB, which is Mother, Father, Sister, Brother. TSOP, Sound of Philadelphia.
Which is
what famous TV show used this theme song? Use this as their theme song.
Yeah, this is the for those of you who don't know, this is the theme song to Soul Train.
Yep, from 1973 to 1975.
Yeah.
And Don Cornelius actually said in the interview that he was mad that he didn't put his name on the track for publishing rights because that song is played. I want to say there's a certain amount of periods of time during a day that you can hear that song. I've even heard it in grocery stores.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the ones that people may not be familiar with, but I got to throw this in there. Hamilton Bohannon, Let's Start the Dance.
Mm-hmm.
So what people may not know is that one, Hamilton Bohannon, rest in peace, got his doctorate. He was a music professor, I want to say at Clark Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
He's also one of our frat brothers.
Didn't know that.
Yes, he's also one of our frat brothers. And this song was actually used by DJ back home, the late great Frankie Green, aka Frankie the Big Bopper, from WPAL Radio. He used this song during his club announcements. So I had to throw that in there. So
okay.
And my final one to make people mad, I'm gonna go with Soul Makossa by Manu Dibango.
Okay, so can I talk about that real quick, and then I'll go to mine. All right, I'm gonna look in the camera on this one. Listen, those of you who are on social media, every year in the spring, okay, there's a meme that gets passed around that says Michael Jackson says, and do you want to be starting something? I'm gonna say it one more time and I'm gonna stop. No, he does not say that. He says, Mama say, Mama sa, Mama maku sa. That's what he says, and it comes from the song that Q just mentioned. Okay, all right.
Yep.
It comes from Soul Makossa. In fact, he sued. What's the gentleman's name? Manu Dibango sued Michael Jackson for using that in his song without his permission. So please, y'all, if you see somebody saying that Michael Jackson said, I'm gonna say it one more time and I'm gonna stop, please correct them.
That's right.
Because that's not right. And
that's not what he said
on social media. All right. All right, that's enough. That's my rant for today. That thing got me fired up. All right, so here's some songs that are gonna make people mad that I left off my list. Okay, and this was hard, but I did share them on my page over the last couple weeks. The first one is Daz by Brick. That's a cookout staple. I love the song, but I couldn't put it in my top 7. It was on the cusp of making it. Okay,
right.
Shout out to Brick. Another one was a Curtis Mayfield song. I mentioned it when you were talking about the Superfly soundtrack. Give Me Your Love. That's on the Superfly soundtrack. Marvin Gaye's Come Live With Me, Angel from the I Want You album, which I put right up there behind Songs in the Key of Life as one of the best R&B albums ever made.
Agreed.
It was hard. I didn't want to leave James off my list, but I had to go with the songs that spoke to me personally, okay? And the song I left off the list is Papa Don't Take No Mess.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, y'all. I love that song. That song, man, that's probably one of James' dopest instrumentals. But I left it off the list. And another one I left off the list was the OJ's For the Love of Money. I just love that instrumental. It has a message behind it. It's on that Ships Ahoy OJ's album. If you listen to that album, that whole album is dope. It's a theme behind all those songs. Yep. And the last one that I left off the list is Rufus featuring Shaka Khan from that 1979 album Master Jam. Is Do You Love What You Feel?
Now I got that song playing in my head.
Yeah.
So I was gonna put OJ's on one of the OJ songs.
I'm surprised you didn't, because I know that's your group, man.
I mean, that's my group, but like I feel like I discussed them in other episodes, like the episodes we did on Instagram, where I was like, I already talked about them, so I kind of want to switch it up and put some shine on some other people. But it was tough. Yeah, it was tough because I was gonna say, you know what, the whole entire album, as you can see back here, So Full of Love. I was been like the whole album, my top 7.
That's why I was surprised when we were like planning for this show and behind the scenes, man. I was so surprised that you didn't have any songs from the OJs on there. But like I said, man, we seem to pick songs that speak to us. So But that was good. I hope we didn't make y'all too mad with some of our songs that missed the cut. So we're gonna introduce a new segment. And this segment of the show is called "What You Listening To." So Q, what you been listening to, man?
So I recently listened to the Common and Pete Rock joint.
Yes, my pick fell out.
Made your pick come out.
You saw my pick fall out my head. I shook my head so hard.
Yeah. So I recently was listening to that. I listened to it from start to finish. Didn't skip any tracks. I mean, it's gold. And it's funny because we discussed, I think on an earlier show or another show, about how they need to come up with an adult contemporary category for rap.
That was on our last show.
Well, it's funny because about a week after that, I saw where somebody posted on Facebook about how they should have an adult contemporary category for rap because they had listened to the Pete Rock and Common joint also. Mm-hmm. And so it's just amazing how like they really need to come up with that category. But that album is everything.
They really do. I mean, they have it for R&B. They have a traditional R&B category, and then they have just an R&B category, which is more of your mainstream stuff. There's no reason why Common and LL Cool J and Jay-Z should be competing for even Killer Mike should be competing for awards in the same category as Lil Baby.
They should not. I mean, they need to have a separate category because that label, genre, whatever, would speak to our generation.
Yep.
And so they could put out new stuff, and we will probably be the ones to listen to it.
Yep. Yeah. So I've been listening to that album too, probably nonstop. A couple other albums that I highly recommend y'all listen to is Lucky Day's Algorithm album. That album's good, man. He has a song on there called That's You that was actually co-written and produced by Bruno Mars and his songwriting partner DeMille. That song's great, man. It's a throwback type joint. I like that Lucky Day album. The homie JR World of Soul, he talked about it on one of his R&B segments on his Instagram page. But that's a great album. I've also been listening a lot to Anderson .Paak and Knowledge's new album, No Worries, Why Lord. That's a good album.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out.
Check it out. I just bought it on vinyl. Still got the plastic on it. I haven't even opened it up yet. But man, I've probably been listening to that on repeat since it came out. And then, of course, like you said, the Common and Pete Rock. So those have been my 3 albums that I've been listening to a lot this summer. All right. Another new segment we're going to introduce, and then we're going to start wrapping up, is QG's Motivational Minute. Okay? I text this brother this afternoon. I said, man, you are gifted in motivating the people and giving them little gems of wisdom and knowledge. And if I need to pick me up, man, this is one of those brothers I go to, and he always seems to say the right thing at the right time. So QG, give us your motivational minute, man.
All right, so today's motivational minute, and I just did a video on TikTok. So yes, I'm on TikTok as well for it. I called it "Value Those Who Value You." Okay, you need value those who value you. Value the people who see the value in you. Okay, hold on tight to them. Encourage them, give them, kindness. Show kindness to them. You know, because you have value. Everybody has value. Everybody has talent. Everybody has gifts. So if somebody is actually taking an interest in you and they see something in you that you don't see in yourself, that shows that they value you and they see the value in you. So you need to value them.
Yeah.
So value the people who value you. That is my motivational minute.
I love that, man. I love that. You never know, man. Just seeing people smile, just giving somebody a smile it can be something that turns their day around. And then because you may see the value in them. You never know what people are going through. So just be nice, damn it.
Yeah, just be nice. You don't have to be, nasty to people. You don't have to have an attitude with people. You just, like you say, you never know what they're going through. But you have to value those who value you. Even if it's a small portion, it might be just a person or two people. You have to value them as they value you. So,
all right. And one thing that I'm going to do every episode leading up to November 6th, which is election day, is push voter registration. So as of today, we are 100 days until election day. So I'm not getting paid for this. Okay. I'm not getting paid for this. Saturday sit down is free. Anything that we do on this show, we coming out of our own pockets for. So we're not sponsored by this organization. I'm going to make that clear. Okay. I want to push vote.org. Okay. And vote.org is a nonpartisan effort to make voting more accessible to all Americans. Okay. This website gives you an opportunity to check your voter registration. Not only check your voter registration, but also register to vote, request an absentee ballot, and it also lets you see who's on the down ballot. Because believe it or not, people, there are more important races than who's going to be the president of this country. So please, in addition to voting for those who are going to be running for the highest office in the land, we also need to make sure that we are voting for our national representatives, our senators, and also our local assemblies and our state assemblies, as well as our city councils and those who run our particular cities and towns. So please check out vote.org when you get a chance. Again, we ain't getting paid for this. Ain't nobody breaking us off no money to say this, but it's important to vote. Okay. If you have a child that turns 18 around election day, they also can vote for the first time this year. Okay. So get your children registered to vote if you have not. So vote.org, like I said, this is an opportunity for you to check your registration, gives you an opportunity to register to vote. It also provides you with information on voting requirements and deadlines in your particular state. So if I'm not mistaken, you can go on there, scroll down, find whatever state you reside in, and it tells you all the requirements in order to register to vote, request an absentee ballot, all of that. So again, exercise your right to vote, okay? Because just remember, y'all, it wasn't until 1964 that people who look like you and I actually was able to vote without being harassed and being have literacy and poll taxes and literacy tests and all that kind of stuff to try to prevent us from voting. So there are people who fought and died for the right for us to vote. So take advantage of that, okay? And again, this is nonpartisan. This is just me pushing the right thing. So if you are not registered to vote, get your butt to the polls and vote on November 6th. Because if you don't vote, you can't complain. I don't want to hear nothing you guys say when the person who you don't like ends up in office. Get out and vote. You got anything you want to add to
that? Voteless people is a hopeless people. Get out there and vote. If you're not registered to vote, reach out to somebody who can assist you in getting registered. Mm-hmm. But as TH said, it's very important to exercise your right, and not just at the national level, but at your state and or local level. So do your thing, get out there, vote.
Yep. Coach Eddie Young says it best. Local elections are vital. Make sure you vote and bring someone else to the polls.
Exactly, there you go. Brother. There you go.
All right. So let's talk about our next episode, part 2 of our decade series. We're gonna talk about the 1980s.
Champagne Soul and Jerry Curl Funk, baby.
Let's go. Let's go.
We're going to give it to you all. We're going to go from the early electro period, as I call it, for the 1980s to the mid 1980s that took Jerry Curl Soul to another level, to New Jack Swing, and on out into the 90s. So get ready.
Yeah, and this is one of those episodes where we can hit on different genres because you had the emergence of hip hop. You had the emergence of Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis in the mid 1980s. Well, actually earlier than that, before Prince fired them from the time because they was producing songs behind his back. But that's neither here nor there. And then you got the emergence of New Jack Swing and what ended up becoming hip hop soul.
That's right.
Yeah, we're gonna do it all, man. So we'll have more information to come once we get a date set, but that'll be our next show, which will take place in the month of August. All right. So we look forward to y'all tuning in. And again, y'all, QG and I appreciate y'all being here with us today. All right. Thank you for having another lively and engaging discussion with us. And in the words of Don Cornelius, Q, I'm going to let you send us off.
We want to wish you nothing but love, peace, and soul.
All right. Y'all have a good night. Be blessed.
Be blessed, y'all. Take care.